Imagine a quiet autumn evening where the leaves fall like memories, and a shadow steps off a Greyhound bus into a town that buried him 2 decades ago. The name Thomas Vance is etched on a cold marble memorial in the town square. Yet here he stands, breathing the crisp air. What happens when a ghost of the past comes home to a world that has completely moved on without him? Thomas was reported missing in action during a fierce overseas deployment 20 long years ago. The military searched for weeks, but the chaotic nature of the conflict left behind only unanswered questions and a shattered family. Eventually, the letters stopped coming. The hope faded into silent grief, and the government officially declared him gone. His young wife, Sarah, was left alone to carefully pick up the broken pieces of her life. But Thomas was definitely not gone. He had been captured, caught far behind enemy lines, and secretly held in a remote camp where time simply stopped existing. For 20 years, he survived on the sheer memory of Sarah's beautiful smile and the familiar scent of his hometown's pine trees. He endured silent, grueling days, stubbornly holding on to the fragile hope that he would one day walk back through his front door. The miraculous chance for freedom came unexpectedly during a sudden shift in local regimes, allowing Thomas to slip away into the dense wilderness. It took months of navigating treacherous terrain, crossing borders in the shadows, and fighting severe illness before he finally reached a friendly embassy. The long journey back to American soil was a confusing blur of extensive debriefings, medical evaluations, and an overwhelming realization of how much time passed. Now, walking quietly down Main Street, the familiar storefronts feel like distant strangers wearing the faces of old friends. The classic diner has a brand new awning, the old hardware store is now a coffee shop, and the faces casually passing by are entirely unrecognizable. He pulls his jacket collar up against the autumn chill, his heart hammering rapidly. Every single step feels much heavier than the difficult miles he walked. He navigates the winding suburban sidewalks completely from memory, finally stopping across the street from the charming house he built with his own hands. The tiny oak tree he planted as a sapling now towers over the roof, casting long, protective shadows across the beautifully manicured lawn. A warm, golden light slowly spills from the living room window, painting a beautiful picture of a peaceful life carrying on happily inside. Through the clear glass, he suddenly catches a quick glimpse of her, and his breath simply catches in his throat. Sarah is noticeably older now, her dark hair beautifully touched with soft silver, but her gentle smile remains exactly as he remembered it. She is laughing joyfully, casually setting dinner plates on a dining table, completely surrounded by comfortable warmth. But the painful truth hits him. She is not alone there. A tall man walks slowly into the frame, casually wrapping his arms around Sarah's shoulders in a beautiful gesture of deeply rooted comfort. Thomas feels a sudden, sharp ache deep in his chest, a painful mixture of profound loss and an understanding he cannot escape. He had prayed for her continued happiness every single day he was captive, and now he is forced to quietly witness it from the outside looking in. He takes a slow, painful step backward, the dry autumn leaves crunching softly under his worn leather boots. If he walks up to that wooden door and rings the bell, he will completely shatter the precious peace she fought so incredibly hard to build. He loves her deeply enough to want her happiness, even if he cannot provide it. The ultimate sacrifice of walking away feels much heavier than the brutal war. Just as he sadly turns to leave, the heavy front door swings completely open, and a tall young man steps out onto the wooden porch holding a jacket. Thomas freezes silently in the dark shadows, his tired eyes locking instantly onto the boy who looks to be around 20 years old. There is something strikingly familiar about the broad slope of the young man's shoulders and the determined set of his jaw. The young man slowly turns his head toward the bright street light, and Thomas instantly sees his own eyes staring directly back at him. It hits him powerfully with the sudden force of a physical blow. Sarah had been pregnant right before he deployed, a beautiful secret she had not yet shared. This boy, standing casually in the cool evening air, is the biological son he completely never knew actually existed. The young man suddenly notices the solitary figure standing silently by the dim street lamp and cautiously walks down the concrete driveway. He politely asks if Thomas is simply lost or desperately needs some quick help finding an address in the quiet neighborhood. Up close, the brave boy wears a silver dog tag around his neck. It is Thomas's old tag, beautifully worn, completely smooth by many long years of loving touch. With trembling hands, Thomas slowly reaches deep into his heavy coat pocket and carefully pulls out the matching silver tag he kept secretly hidden through his long captivity. He gently holds it out into the soft, warm glow of the street lamp, the aged metal catching the light. The young man looks down at the metal tag, then slowly up at the weathered, tear-streaked face of the mysterious stranger standing right before him. "Dad," the young man whispers softly, his cracking voice barely audible as the completely impossible truth suddenly rewrites his entire reality. Thomas cannot speak a single word. He simply nods slowly, warm tears freely washing away the dark decades of deep pain, harsh isolation, and quiet suffering. They rapidly close the remaining distance, embracing incredibly tightly under the ancient oak tree just as the front door opens again and Sarah steps outside. The beautiful human spirit is remarkably resilient, fully capable of surviving the deepest darkness when powerfully fueled by the simple magic of true love. Time may significantly alter our daily circumstances, and difficult life will inevitably force us down strange paths we never actually planned to take. Yet deep family connection is never truly lost, and warm hope can always guide us back home in the absolute most miraculous, unexpected, and perfect ways.